So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to edit on our website with the new version of .NET Nuke that we have. You can try to type in the URL for our website if you want, or you can try to navigate through campuses and all that. I often just Google wastes and it works pretty well. So right now this looks probably the way that you remember it, minus a few changes to graphics or the blog roll down there. But for the most part, it should look the same to you because it looks the same. Even though we have a new version of .NET Nuke, the front looks the same. It looks the same to those who are not logged in. However, once you log in, things behave a little differently and look a little differently. Now, no matter which browser you're on, the website should look the same. However, it doesn't seem to behave the same for each browser when you're editing. So if you're on a Mac, I've worked with Safari some, and it seems to be a little buggy. Firefox has worked pretty well for me so far. I haven't heard any complaints on Chrome or Internet Explorer, but I haven't tried them personally. So I'm in Firefox. In the top right, you have your login button, same as it was before. The login screen itself looks a little different. It's a little bit sleeker, a little bit more modern, but it's essentially the same. Now, keep in mind, your username is not the same as it is on everything else. A lot of the systems in Spring Branch are tied together and they use the same password. Not true with the website. The website is its own separate system. Your password is something that you created. If you forget your password, I can let you change it, but I can't find out what it was. And when you change your password on everything else in the district, it doesn't change this one. So once you've logged in, you'll see this banner on top, which is a bit different than before. You'll also see the logout button here, and you should see your name there. Now, clicking on this does not take you to your web page. This takes you to your user profile, which we don't really use, so I wouldn't worry about that. So you'll need to actually go and find your page through here. If you have a pretty unique name, like I do, you can also probably Google it, like so. That'll work for some of you. For some of you, not so much. Some of you will have to go through and find yourself. Once you're here, if you notice, I don't have any icons to edit. What I have to do is I have to go up here to Edit Page. If I just hover my mouse over it, I just let my mouse rest on it, this drop-down menu will appear, and I have some options like Edit This Page or Stay in Edit Mode Always, and when I do those, it'll refresh, and you'll see Edit Options. Now this looks a little crazy, which is why I don't recommend staying in Edit Mode, because then you won't get to see what it looks like unless you log out. So anytime I can go up here and do Close Edit Mode, and then that will look closer to the way it actually looks to people that are not logged in. We've got a bunch of options up here, all these blank boxes. We don't really use a lot of these on our website, so just ignore them and scroll down to your content. Now stuff is going to display a little funny, like our banner up here with this container that doesn't display normally. And you can see here my content on the right is missing. It's actually not missing, it's further down. All of these elements take up a little bit more width than they normally do when you're in edit mode, so that causes stuff to break strangely and move around a bit. But if I scroll down, I'll find it. So I can see here, here's my content. Now when I put my mouse over it, I have some options here. I wouldn't really mess with these unless you know what you're doing. It's easy to accidentally move stuff around and put it somewhere strange on your page. So if I want to edit, I can click on the content and it will go into edit mode. Now, a little strange, if your box has lots of content in it, like if I scroll down here and I want to edit something down here and I click, it's not going to have a box the same size as my content. It makes a smaller box where I can edit. If you try to scroll up, it goes out of edit mode. So just click at the top of the box you want to edit, and then you can scroll down here to which part you want to modify. Now when you're in edit here, you have a few options, but only a few. You're used to having more. To get other options, you have to click this little arrow. These are all pretty self-explanatory. Links, images, alignment of text, text modifications. This is to modify the HTML itself. If you know HTML code, you can go in here and you can make some changes. If you don't know HTML code, or if you're not very confident with it, then I would leave it alone because it's really easy to mess stuff up if you're not familiar with the actual coding itself. So to get my other options, I click on this little double arrow thing here, and that will give me a pop-up here, which allows me to modify more stuff with more options. Now, once again, I've got this basic text box option here, which is basically the HTML code, but it behaves a little bit differently. Once again, don't mess with it if you're not familiar with it. Stay in Rich Text Editor. This will let you highlight things, and you can bold them or italicize or underline or whatever you want to do. You've got some new options here, like entering symbols, which might be useful if you're in math. No foreign language symbols other than currency. That's just how it is. You've got a few other options up here. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, like your indentation, or to remove an indentation, or bolded lists. Converting something to lowercase or uppercase, which seems a little silly, but I guess if you wanted to change everything quickly, you could. Might be somewhat useful for someone. You've got your spell check at the start. You can change colors. You can highlight things. So there's a lot you can do here. Now, one of the things that's missing that you might not notice right now because there's so much to look at is you don't have a way to add images here. Well, you do, but it's been moved. They've taken images and documents and they've put them under this little paper clip. So if I click on this little down arrow, I can see some other options like Image Manager, Image Map, Document, Flash, which I would avoid because it doesn't behave on a lot of phones, or doesn't work on a lot of phones at all. So, right, but here's some options. You're pretty much going to probably just use Image, maybe Documents sometimes here and there, just depending on what you put on your site. So let's say I want to add an image. I click Image, this will load. This is the organization of our site in different folders. To find your stuff, you have to go into Staff, so I'll double click that. Middle school or upper school, it depends on which one you started as when you were hired. So even though I teach only upper school classes now, when I was hired I was middle school, so I'm still under middle school. That can be changed, but it's kind of a pain, and I already know where to find it, so it's not a big deal. Here I can go into my folder, and now I can find photos that I have, images that I have. Even though you can see other people's, you can't access it. It'll give you an error message or access declined type message if you try to. So I can add one of these images if I want. If I don't have the image on here yet, it's on my computer, I can go to Upload, and I can choose an image, like maybe this Fortran statement. And I can hit Upload. I can also upload multiple images if I want to do more than one at a time. If this already exists, it won't upload. Like if I have something with the same name or this exact same image, it won't upload. If I hit Overwrite, then it will replace it with this new image. So I can hit Upload. It'll refresh this, and now I can see this here, and I can put this onto my page. If I clicked on the wrong one, I can right click and hold down, and I can tell it to delete, or if I want to rename it, etc. So I'll click on that, and yes, I want to delete it. So let's say this is what I want. If I click Properties, I can modify like the width and the heights. If I click this little lock, it'll keep the two proportional, so that way I don't end up with a weird stretchy image. And I can say 600. Now if I have it unlocked and I do something weird like 400, and I've left 211 there, and I tell it to insert, I'm going to get this weird stretched image. This doesn't look too bad here because it's just text, but if it was a person or something, it would look weird. So if I close this, and it takes a moment, and it takes another moment as it refreshes and loads, now I can see this image here. However, let's say I open Chrome. And let's say I go to my page. my image is not showing up there. So just because you edit it here doesn't mean it's going to show up on your page. You have to hit publish. Now that I've published and it says that it was successful, now if I refresh the page in Chrome, there it is. Now if I want to remove that image, I can go up here to edit again, edit this page, wait for it to load, scroll down here, click to edit, and I can try to edit this. Oh, that was pretty easy. Now I just put the cursor on the other side and press delete. Now delete and backspace, those can be tricky sometimes because that can double as a back button for your browser. Let's say that I bring the image back. So inserting the image through this method looks nice, but it behaves a little weird. Let me see if I can find myself in here. So staff, middle school, Lakeside S. So here's my image, insert image, and there you go. Now I can also hit this little pencil there, and that will kind of put me in edit mode. I hit delete here. Now right now I would keep your website pretty simple. I wouldn't do really much more with it than you need to, because around winter break we're probably going to switch to a new version. Hopefully that one will last us quite a while. Now I've deleted that picture. Keep in mind that I didn't publish it, so if I go to Chrome and I refresh, it's still there. So once again, same thing, make sure you actually publish. And now if I go back to Chrome, it's gone. Now that should cover most people's needs. If there is something else that you need help with, let me know, but I think that will cover the basics that most people want to use, that most people need.